Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well today. So in this video, I wanted to talk to you all about uh, um, burnout, burnout as content creators, burnout as collectors, burnout as store owners, oops, general burnout that you might experience in a job or in any type of job. And I wanted to really reflect on and respond in part to Leonhart's video that he just made, where he was very vulnerable in sharing um, his current feelings of burnout and experiencing burnout. We had Zach and Charlie on the channel last night, and we talked in that conversation about or alluded to sort of burnout or feeling burned out at times and taking breaks from the hobby, stepping away, or taking breaks from your business or stepping away from content creation. I think it's a really important subject. I think a lot of people who watch this channel, who watch Leonhart's channel, are other content creators, are other people who have businesses in Pokemon, and or at least are pretty passionate collectors in the hobby. And I think it's really good when people are vulnerable with the struggles of maintaining anything for a really long time. And in Leonhardt's video, he talked about how basically he's been feeling, and I'm certainly paraphrasing here, but he, I think for 8 years, he said he's been making 4 videos a week, basically for 8 years in a row. And he missed this past Sunday's video, which is the first time he's done that. And I think he's made a few videos about this or alluded to this over the last few months, but that he's really feeling, I think he used the word burned out, quite burned out. And particularly, I guess, this last Sunday, didn't feel like he had a good enough idea to come out with a video, or just didn't feel, maybe he had a good idea, but he didn't feel upbeat and passionate enough or in a mood to make a video. And I think it's really understandable. I mean, the first thing I guess I'd like to do is just, and hopefully everyone here, and share, like, we can all empathize and appreciate our content creators for the amount of effort, work, and time they put into doing something that helps the hobby grow and sustain itself. People like Leonhart, PokeRev, Real Breaking Nate, Unlisted Leaf, Super Duper Danny. There are a number of other names we could name of big channels, but then of course channels like mine and hundreds and many hundreds of different smaller communities with people working very hard and putting out regular content and trying to constantly figure out what people will enjoy and what people will like and all that sort of stuff. I think that it's really good to not take people for granted. Online, it can be a very, very judgmental and critical space. And I've seen a lot of people be extremely critical of Leonhart for a variety of reasons this year. I could criticize him. I could criticize anyone. People have fair, reasonable criticisms of me. I don't think the problem is necessarily being too critical, but or being critical at all, or giving feedback, or wanting our creators, particularly our most successful, biggest creators, to be really good ambassadors for the hobby, and try to kind of hold them to that standard. I think that overall that's a good, but I think you don't want to do it too much or be too critical or too negative to the point where you are now no longer appreciating all of the good, all of the positive things that they bring, and all of the tremendous sort of effort and hard work that has gotten, them to where they are. Leonhart has millions of people who probably watched his channel, and probably tens of thousands of like really regular, people who he's, has a probably pretty decent impact just weekly, in terms of their entertainment and all that sort of thing. Now, I also want to say that I'm a social worker as my normal full-time job. A lot of content creators have their own full-time jobs, and And, a lot of people watching these channels are going to have your own full-time jobs. And it's also very normal to get burned out or struggle in those jobs that you are also working extremely hard at. I think what's really interesting, and what can come out of these types of discussions is like, I can hear some like negativity and criticism of Leonhart saying like, I'm burned out, because like, how can you be burned out, man? You're so successful. You should be so grateful for what you have. All of these things, like, I have to work this crappy job, or I have this really small YouTube channel and I've been grinding for years and I haven't seen any of the success you've seen. And I'm not complaining, right? These types of things. And I think the reality is that your grind and your struggle and your burnout doesn't mean that someone else shouldn't also be burned out or exhausted or struggle with what they're dealing with. And I think, to Leonhart's credit, Leonhart seems like a very self-aware person who is not sitting there saying, woe is me. And I think is more saying, I really apologize, guys, that I'm not my happy, enthusiastic self right now. And I don't feel like I can continue. And I'm really maybe battling with like, do I want to keep doing this, or how much can I keep doing this, or how can I change this in order to make it more sustainable for myself and enjoyable for other people? And I think that's admirable that he's doing that, and shows that he's doing a really good job, right? And that he really cares. He's not just sitting there doing the exact same content all of the time. He wants to adapt and change and improve. And with that is going to come, for him is going to come some struggle and some periods of feeling like you're hitting a wall. And I think that for everyone, hopefully everyone can relate to that and empathize with that in their own jobs. And so when you view a video like this, I think it's good to, empathize with them on sort of a human level, rather than be critical and sort of be like, well, how can successful people, be burned out? I would do anything, to be in that sort of position. And it also doesn't mean that every person out there watching this doesn't deserve respect and that same sort of empathy. And I think sometimes we can give too much empathy or too much care and attention to like big people or famous people, and not enough respect and love and admiration for the small YouTube channels, and for just everyone out there who's doing their work in their community in whatever capacity they're doing it. As I said, I'm a social worker. I would love to get thanked more, because I've of course had to deal with burnout in my work, as most people have in my profession. And, and I think with anything that you do that you're passionate about, it can become repetitive. You can run into sort of like, how do I keep growing? How do I keep changing? How do I keep moving forward? How do I keep improving? And it's just a great message that Leonhart is sharing. And I think that we should all be supportive of him, and also really supportive of each other. I also think that it's normal for there to be more burnout right now because of all of the intense sort of growth and energy that has been in the hobby this year. It's strange, but like, the hobby doesn't have to like have drama all the time or intensity all the time for it to be enjoyable. And I think that what has happened, there's been a lot of drama, a lot of intensity, a lot of huge changes in prices. A lot of channels have sprung up. I mean, even Leonhart's channel, I think, has grown a humongous amount. I could tell in his video, he was talking about sort of comparing his views to views that he was getting in the past, and feeling bad that a new video that he put out that he was excited about didn't do well, and how disappointing that was. I think a lot of that stuff also comes out of these periods of sort of like extreme growth of the hobby and excitement. And then I think a lot of people are burned out, probably in his audience, could be burned out, and burned out's a pretty strong word for this, but like, burned out with his content, burned out with my content, burned out with anyone's content. And so I think that all of that is to be expected after periods of really intense growth. We have a correction period, and with that often comes can come with a little bit of depression, a little bit of downness. And I think it's just so important that we all treat each other well, and that we have patience. And I want to put out that really key word. I think that it's all about patience and sustainability and trying to figure out ways of certainly staying upbeat. And I think that, when I was watching that video with Leonhart, and, this is, I know for myself, my feeling in myself was sort of like, man, just take a break, if you can. But I kind of get it. Like, he probably doesn't want to. He's so passionate about what he's doing and building. And maybe a break would be unpleasant for him. This is pure, just crazy speculation, right? But maybe a break would be unpleasant for him because he loves, his joy is his work and improving his work, right? Everyone is different. And everyone finds relaxation and meaning in sort of different ways. Some people by taking that vacation, some people by working or changing their work or solving something at their work. And so, respect for Leonhart for coming out with that message. And I guess I just wanted to share this video, reiterate the message a bit, and share that, I certainly have experienced forms of burnout in various areas in my life. I'm sure the majority of people here, if, particularly if you are in your 30s by now, have experienced, periods where you feel that way about something. And there's not one correct answer out there. It's I can't sit here and say, just keep doing whatever you're doing and it'll get better, or you need a change and you need to make a change. Like, part of being a therapist is really, at least in my experience, is that, everyone's problems are although there are so many commonalities in all of us and what we experience, people have sort of individual personalities, and everyone's problems kind of have their own components. And so everyone's solution might look a little bit different. Just as I said before, Leonhart's solution might be to get right back in there and, continue making videos. And what I hope he does, as he said in that video, is like making videos that he really enjoys. I heard Danny Phantom talking about this on his channel too, just feeling like the potential of feeling burnt out unless you find a way to make content that you really enjoy, where you're not just chasing the views, just constantly coming up with what is going to connect most with the algorithm, even if I don't like it, that sort of thing. And, I know on this channel, I've always tried to only make videos, and it's why I have like such an inconsistent schedule. I will go 2 weeks without making a video, and then I'll go 2 straight days like this with making videos if I want to talk about something. But, there are definitely benefits and trade-offs to sort of every person's style. And, if you do want to start a business, and a lot of people, out there are content creators, and even a lot of small content creators who right now are doing this as a hobby and more for fun. Like, if it started taking off, I bet a number of those people would turn it into a business and would love to do that. A part of them would love to do that. And I think that just understanding how normal this all is and not catastrophizing it, I think is really important too. Like, if you are feeling really burned out, like giving yourself time to breathe, having patience, not overreacting, and not catastrophizing anything one way or another is I think really generally good advice. Oftentimes when we're in really down moods or really up moods, we have what are called cognitive distortions or limiting beliefs, or there are all sorts of different words for it. But just the idea that you may find yourself really thinking like you're going to feel this way forever, or you're never going to enjoy Pokemon again, you're never going to enjoy content creation again, where, in 3 weeks, Leonhart might be really enjoying his videos again, or he might find ways to really enjoy it again, even if it doesn't feel like he is right now. And although I'm responding to Leonhart in this video, this is a message for, I think, every human being, which is why I think Leonhart sharing that, even though it's very personal and vulnerable, is really good for everyone. And I also respect a person who cares a lot about what they do and about their audience. So those are my thoughts on this. I really hope everyone is doing well. And, if you need to take breaks from the hobby, that you do that, take breaks from the content creation, but also, come back. And I think there is something to be said about, having patience and not dropping things, right when they feel difficult or hard, because oftentimes with some tweaks, you can really take something that was once really enjoyable and sort of make it enjoyable again and reinvent it again. Of course, there's also nothing wrong with a career change. There's nothing wrong, fundamentally with leaving the hobby completely, but it's not always necessary. And oftentimes when you built a whole life, I mean, Leonhart, for example, if he were to leave his channel, like he's put so much effort and work into building this community, building this channel, building all of his reputation, connections, viewership, this business that can do lots of things for people and for himself and his family. It would be a real shame if he couldn't find a way to enjoy that process again, and would sort of like need to leave it, right? And I say that again, not talking specifically to Leonhart, whether he watches this video or not, but more so that I think it's a thing I very much relate to. It's a thing I think everyone can relate to when you're building a career or building a business and you get into those hard times. That sort of question of, should I completely give up on this, or can I adapt? If I hang on, can I change some things and make it successful? So really good message, really wonderful people in this community. And it's great that we can talk about, more than just the cards, but also the human beings behind the cards, the collectors behind the cards. And yeah, so we'll have more videos. Thank you all for watching this video. And I'm sure we'll have more for you on this channel shortly. We have our Patreon video at the 4 days from now, with Deep Pocket Monster Pat Flynn, which should be enjoyable. And I will also continue to find ways to be inspired and creative and talk about things I think people want to hear and will appreciate, but that also I want to talk about or think are useful to talk about. Okay. So thank you all for your continued time and attention, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.